Hey everybody, hope you're all doing well tonight. Wow, I'm just so full right now, and I just really wanted to share this word of encouragement, this testimony with you. Many of you have probably heard it already, but there are a lot of you who I know have not, and you've never heard it from my lips. I have shared it through social media before, but you've never really heard my heart when I've shared this. And well, today is Sunday, November the 6th, 2016, and it has just occurred to me that tomorrow, November 7th, 2016, will be my youngest daughter, Imani's 10th birthday. And I am just so completely in awe of what God did for me. In that time that I was pregnant with Imani, and up until the time that I actually gave birth to her until now. I'll just backtrack a little bit to fill you in. I was probably about 4.5 months pregnant, and I was going through a very tumultuous time in my life, and it was just everything that could be flipped upside down was completely upside down. I mean, in a place of no peace and the joy and faith that I know now. Oh God, I mean, if there was a void in any area of my life, it would definitely have been there. But going back to my pregnancy, every test that I had to take, and I can't even name all of them, but every test that I took came back abnormal, which was very different from my pregnancy with Ayana, my oldest daughter. And it, it had almost gotten to the point where I was numb. It didn't even have a great effect on me because I had just heard so much bad news at that time in my life that the abnormalcy of these test results did not alarm me. And I don't know whether that was a good thing or a bad thing, but we're just going to say for now that was just God's keeping me. I say that because the last test that I remember taking, which I believe was the Tay-Sachs test, I took that test, the abnormal results came back, and I was referred to a specialist. And so the specialist does all kinds of another battery of tests, and upon receiving those results, this specialist told me that it was essentially 99% accurate that my daughter, Imani, would be born with Down syndrome. They showed me the results on paper. They showed me the ultrasound photographs, and he showed me the measurements of Imani's head, her forehead, and I'm not a medical professional. I don't know how to read these results, and so all I could do was take the specialist words for what was to be the fate of my unborn child. And he told me that this child was going to be born with Down syndrome. And then his next bit of advice to me was for me to have an elective abortion. And he said to me, "You should have an abortion. I would advise you to have an abortion, because you're not going to be able to handle all of the pressure that's going to come along with raising a child with Down syndrome. Now, I'm still fairly newly married and a new mom, because at the time Ayana was just a year and a half old, maybe. So, I didn't know anything except I did know God. And I can only tell you it had to have been the Lord that was keeping my mind and not allowing me to be persuaded by this specialist that I needed to jump into panic mode. And this is what he was advising me to do, to move quickly, to make a quick decision, because I was running out of time and I would no longer be able to do the elective abortion, and that I would essentially be stuck with this child with Down syndrome. But I never accepted this doctor's diagnosis. It never took root in my spirit. And I do remember saying, I don't know what's going to happen, but if God allows my child to be born with Down syndrome, then that's just what it's going to be. And I just didn't know, honestly, I was not nearly as close to the Lord as I am now back then. And so, I had faith that I didn't even know that I had. And I thank God for his stirring that up in me. And it was not even, I surprised myself at the fact that I spoke these words, even though I'd not been faced with anything similar to that before. And you really you don't know what you'll do until you're in the situation. You hear that a lot. And that's where I found myself, just in a place of trusting God to sustain me if, in fact, I ended up giving birth to a child with Down syndrome. So I'll fast forward. My child will be 10 years old tomorrow. She's never had a down day unless she was sick, which has been very rare. And even in those cases, I've almost had to remind her that she was sick and that she needed to lay down and rest. Oh God, but I'm so grateful to God to say that 10 years later, I did not take the advice of the specialist. I just want to encourage you and just tell you that, regardless of what man says the end is going to be, only God has the final say. And I just want to encourage you to trust God with whatever it is. Trust God, regardless of what it feels like to you and how frightening it may be. Trust God, because God has a plan. God has a plan for this child. And just seeing who she has developed into already at this young, tender age of, almost 10, just shy of a few hours. It's amazing to me. And when I look at her and I see what I could have killed if I allowed the enemy to take control of my mind and make a decision based upon fear and emotions and not trusting God the way that I do now, Lord have mercy. Who knows what I would have killed? It's absolutely amazing to me. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. And I'm Also, just reminding myself, thinking about it now, Imani's name means faith, and I had named her long before I had even started having all of these extra tests. But Imani means faith, and her middle name, Sanae, means praise and worship unto God. And if that child is not living her life and living up to her name, my name is not Gontis. So God knew even before I did what I should name her, and it's just confirmation again for me that He had a perfect plan in mind. It was not His will that she should die. It was not His will that I should die, even when I thought that I wanted to, because that's where I was then in my life. Man, thanks be unto God for the things He has done. To God be the glory. I love y'all. Be blessed.